What is up, guys? Raziel here again, and I'm going to go over, is Final Fantasy XIV worth playing now in 2018? I've seen a lot of videos about it, and they kind of dodge some of the major questions, so I'm going to go right into it, quick, easy, blunt, and give you the answers you're looking for.
I am Raziel.
Alright, here we are. So, is Final Fantasy XIV worth playing or switching from another MMO to in the year 2018? And the answer is simple. Fuck yeah, it is! Thanks for watching, guys. If you just totally kidding. I've been looking around the internet recently trying to figure out how to answer some of these questions and exactly how I wanted to make this video. What spurred it on was I had a friend who was asking me, hey, I'm kind of sick of the MMO I'm playing right now, and is Final Fantasy XIV any good? A real life friend of mine, I've known him for years, and I was thinking how I could explain it to him. What's the best way to get the message across? So I was going to try to just link him a video because I've seen some thumbnails for multiple channels' videos of, is Final Fantasy XIV a good MMO? Is it worth it to play? And while all the videos had some very good relevant information, they seem to drag on forever, much like the intro to this video, and kind of name off every single feature the game has, every nut and bolt, the ins and outs, and I'm not going to do that. So I actually found and gathered up some questions that I saw in the comments of other videos, and I thought I'd just get straight to the point. So, let's go. Number one, this question, can I ever catch up with existing player base and get experience and gear and, you know, be on their same level relatively quickly? The answer to that is yes and no. Yes, you can get to the same level easily before the next patch cycle comes through, but no, in terms of it takes a while to get through the story, and I highly recommend not skipping the story, not skipping the cutscenes if you do choose to pick up Final Fantasy XIV. The main reason being the story in most Final Fantasy games is exceptional, and Final Fantasy XIV is no exception. So watch the cutscenes, enjoy the game. Otherwise, if you just skip to the end to get to endgame, you'll have no context and you won't be emotionally invested in the game itself or the characters or the plot. So don't skip the cutscenes if you choose to play the first time through. Watch the story, relax, sit back, enjoy it. It's not a race. You'll get to endgame and start doing endgame and being just as competitive. It doesn't take that long to gear up to start doing the highest end content. Question number two. Will you be alone in the open world while leveling? Kind of, but it doesn't matter. In Final Fantasy XIV, anything that requires a group to do, you can queue for. You can look in the party finder to find a party that's already forming, because you're on one huge data center, so there's lots of people to play with. You don't need to be in a group. You can if you want to. So you'll be alone if you want to the whole time, because it's not needed, with the exception of, you know, a couple the dungeons and the trials that you have to do throughout the storyline. But other than that, it doesn't really matter. Question three: will you be carried through the content you experience? That's completely up to you. If you want to just queue in the party finder for those trials and whatnot, the game syncs other characters, even if they're level 70 and they're queuing, to your level. So, yeah, they may be more experienced and I guess carry you that way, but they're not going to be, you know, smashing the boss in 3 or 4 hits and then it's over and you didn't learn anything from the experience. They still have to do the mechanics. They still have to play it as if they were that level. So, if you want to get carried, you can. If you don't want to get carried, then don't. How active is the PvP and PvE scene, and what are the expected queue times? Well, PvP, first off, I'll be the first to admit, PvP in Final Fantasy XIV is not the greatest. If you're a pure 100% PvP player, right now, I wouldn't recommend Final Fantasy XIV as being your MMO of choice. It was PvP was bad in the last 2 expansions. It was very good at the beginning of Stormblood, and then they recently made some changes that kind of fucked it up. There's still quite a few dedicated PvP players. But the lead designer and producer of Final Fantasy has openly admitted that the latest changes are not making PvP the way they want it to. So big changes are coming probably in the next patch, which is about 6 to 7 weeks from now. So PvP is constantly in flux and changing like in any MMO, but right now it's not the greatest. PvE scene is very, very, very active. Expected queue times, that all depends. If you're a healer or a tank, most of the time it's pretty much instant queues, or less than 5 minutes. And as in almost any other MMO, if you are a DPS, the queue times are going to be longer, ranging from anywhere between, I've seen when I queue as my DPS class, anywhere between 5 minutes being the lowest, and longest I've waited is like a half hour. Not much different than World of Warcraft or many of the other MMOs. It's just, you know, a DPS life. So, next question. Are professions relevant? Abso-fucking-lutely. Professions in this game are probably one of the most relevant things in any MMO currently on the market. Professions, as I've said before, are jobs themselves. They're classes themselves. You level them up all the way to 70, and it's the primary way to make money in this game, and to make some of the best endgame gear in the game you can craft. So, yes, I would say professions are extremely relevant and important. You don't have to do them, but you're going to have an easier time and a heavier wallet if you do. Alright, what is the current state of Final Fantasy XIV in the patch? So as of today, April 5th, 2018, the current content patch, as I said just a few seconds ago, is about six weeks out from getting another one, which in the next patch, excuse me, they're adding a 24-man raid, another quick way to level up alternate jobs, there are alt jobs, and they're just adding a shitload of content. If you're a new player, though, that doesn't really matter. There's also going to be a balance pass in the next patch as well. What is the expected outlook? This is question number 7. Expected outlook, short-term, mid-term, and long-term for Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV is one of the healthiest MMOs on the market right now. There's no arguing that. In fact, I mean, I know the numbers haven't officially been released on multiple games. The 3 biggest MMOs on the market right now, to my understanding, are Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, and Elder Scrolls Online, as far as subscription-based MMOs that get, you know, constant users. I would say Elder Scrolls Online has anywhere between 2 and 3 million, last I checked, active players all the time. World of Warcraft right now, it's in a content lull, and the next expansion comes out in August. But even during the heavy time of this current expansion, it reached maybe 5 million tops. I would say it probably floats more between 4 and 5, somewhere in there, million players. And Final Fantasy XIV is probably in the same realm, 4 to 5, and probably going all the way up to 5.5 for Final Fantasy XIV. So it's very, very, very healthy. In the short term, as I said, new patches are coming out every 2 to 3 months. So the short term is good. The mid term is great because people kind of know it's coming. And long term, we know an expansion announcement is coming out no later than November of this year. So you're not getting into a dead game if you choose to pick up Final Fantasy XIV, or a dying game, or a game that is just flat out shit. Like, what's a good example? Destiny 2. That's a good example of a shit game that's in a shit state that's probably always going to be unadulterated shit. But I digress. Okay, number 8. What if I'm on a dead server? I kind of just covered this. There really aren't dead servers in Final Fantasy XIV. There's lower population servers, and I'd actually recommend those because when newer content comes out and new expansions come out, the high content servers get insane queue times and a lot of lag in the first few weeks to a month that it's out. So I would highly recommend doing a mid to low pop server. And you know what? You're across a data center, so multiple servers share. So you can do a static party, set up your own static parties with anyone in the data center, not just your server. You can pretty much do anything with the exception of join a free company across data centers. So, and a free company, if you don't know, is a guild. So it's very, very, very healthy. You're not going to get on a dead server. The answer is as simple as that. Number 9, and the final question: are static groups an active or popular thing, or has the population stayed with queuing mainly? Both. There are tons and tons of static groups. You can look in the Party Finder and find people recruiting for their static groups for the highest end content, i.e. Savage rating. And there's a lot of Savage rating that goes on in the Party Finder. Quite a bit, actually. And there's the normal modes and all the dungeons and all the 24-man raids, the queue's healthy as ever. Even on the current 24-man raid dungeon that is, you know, a little long in the tooth now, it's getting old, still you can queue up very quickly and do it. So both are healthy, both are great. If you really want to get a static, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. One big piece of advice before I end the questions, those were the main questions I wanted to go over. I actually found them in another, throughout posts in other videos covering the same topic, and I felt those are answers that people are kind of looking for if they're experienced in MMOs and they're looking to get into Final Fantasy XIV possibly. So I thought I'd answer them quick and easy. But one thing I do recommend when you are, if you do choose to pick up Final Fantasy XIV right now, as I said, there's a free trial. You can get all the way up to level 35 and not pay. I see constantly people bitching and moaning. I'd play if it didn't have a sub. What the fuck, man? The sub adds up to about 50 cents a day for a shitload of content. And you can play without buying the game or paying a sub up to level 35 every job if you want to for free. So if you do pick up Final Fantasy XIV and you start playing and you start paying the sub, I highly recommend you join a guild, free company, as quickly as possible, as you get experience bonuses and other bonuses such as cheaper teleportation fees, things like that. More stats all for any job you're leveling under 50. And if you want to overcome, if you're a DPS, you want to overcome those queues, get a group in your free company and you'll have no queues. So that's my advice, guys. Final Fantasy 18, what the fuck? Final Fantasy 14 in 2018 is a very healthy game right now. It's a great time to get involved in the game right now. You'll be instantly put into the novice network where there's tons of helpful people that will answer your questions and help you, you know, and just enjoy the game. Enjoy the story if you choose to pick it up. And have yourself a good time. Feel free to ask me any questions here on YouTube, or if you see me streaming on Twitch, I'm there to ask. If you're a new player, ask me anything, and if I know the answer, I'll try to help you out. And if you do decide to pick up Final Fantasy XIV and you start to enjoy it, don't forget to check out my new player's guide. It's linked down in the description below that I made about 8-9 months ago. It should help you to not be as confused, to know what the icons are, to know kind of, you know, get a general grip on the game early on so you don't feel lost. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and my Twitch channel, and my Twitch times are all set up. And hit the little subscriber button if you're new and you liked the video and it helped you out, and the little bell so you get notified when I put up new things. If you didn't like it, go ahead, thumbs down, and go fuck yourself. I don't care. But enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and this has been Raziel, and as always, keep it real.